here, ChatGPT. Generate a very short but maximally engaging intro for an online programming variety show called Cringe Vibes. Be sure to mention that this week we're working through the Brian Kernighan and Dennis Ritchie classic, the C programming language. The presenter is Sean McBride, aka Bushido Codes. He uses vibes coding techniques for memory and safe languages in a manner considered dangerous. Provide subtle hints but do not mention directly that Sean knows he's coding in a provocative style designed to trigger online controversy and virality. Let's think step by step.
Welcome to Cringe Vibes. Recently voted Northern Virginia's #2 most up-and-coming PSYOP. We had a lot of engagement this past week, so let's go to the mailbag. A viewer wrote, "You owe me $150 for confusing the hell out of me this afternoon. Where can I send an invoice?" No refunds. Another viewer wrote, "Fun video. Thanks for sharing. I can't tell who's trolling or not." You're welcome, and yes. What exactly is the point of this series? Good question. I'll be a little bit serious here. The point of this series is to be able to explore the emerging set of AI tools, AI LLM code generation tools in the context of low-level systems programming. It's going to be done tongue-in-cheek, and we're going to go through as many of the emerging tools as possible, however ridiculous they are. Another viewer wrote, "LLMs have all trained on these exercises, so to some degree they're just regurgitating." I think that is probably a very accurate statement. Another viewer wrote, "Once people in kernel development start vibe coding, I'd better buy an off-grid self-sufficient cabin that's going to end in darkness once it all falls apart." Well, viewer, I can say with 100% certainty that there are people doing that right now, and I think that'd be a good topic to investigate in a future episode. Another viewer wrote, "Crazy, we're 2 years into this AI revolution, and yet user interfaces involve the system clipboard. I think that these extremely well-funded organizations could come up with something better than just banging rocks together. Maybe consider a better UI." That's a good idea. Coincidentally, the next comment was, "Did you know that at one point you actually had to touch your keyboard to build software? Now everyone just uses Aider in voice mode." So I've never heard of Aider before, but I think that that'd be something that'd be very interesting to check out. If you have suggestions about future tools you'd like to see, please leave them in the comments. So here we are on the webpage aider.chat, and we can see that Aider is AI pair programming in your terminal. Aider lets you pair program with LLMs to edit code in your local Git repository, start a new project, or work with an existing code base. Aider works best with Claude 3.7 Sonnet, DeepSeek R1, and Chat V3, OpenAI O1, O3 Mini, GPT-4o. Aider can connect to almost any LLM, including local models. Here's a animated GIF that kind of shows some examples. I looked at some of this before, and essentially it looks like you type in basically a command here. You get generated code back, and it is automatically written into your file system and committed to your active Git branch. And then on top of that, the Aider tool is able to generate scripts to be able to kick off compilers, open web pages, things like that. So our viewer mentioned specifically voice mode. So we're going to be focusing on voice to code essentially here. And this unfortunately does require some typing. So I'll have to type in like /voice. At that point, I can issue my prompt using my voice, and that actually gets kicked off to OpenAI to basically do speech to text. That text is then set off to whatever model I have configured. And I'm going to be using Claude Sonnet in this case, since that was recommended. All right, so let's kick this off. So we're currently in a Visual Studio Code window running from Windows Subsystem for Linux. I've created a directory projects KNR, and we'll create subdirectories for each of the exercises as we go through them. Over here on the right-hand side, just under my portrait, we have the exercise we're going to be trying. We finished 1-13 using Grok last week, so we're up to 14. So let's go ahead and create 114. All right, and then let's launch Aider. No Git repo found. Create one to track changes. Yes, let's do that. Okay. And so now I believe we should be able to use voice mode. So I'm going to basically do voice, and I'll be reading off this prompt here. Just looking at the prompt, that's basically directly what was in the book. So I'm thinking we should add additional context to just express that input means kind of standard input, and that the histogram should go to standard output. Okay, so slash, and we've got completion. We can arrow through. Here's voice. Write a program to print a histogram of the frequencies of different characters from standard input. Print the histogram to standard output. All right, I've hit enter. And so that should now be, yep, there we go. So now let's send that off to Anthropic. Okay. And we can see that it came up with a solution pretty quickly. We had some comments since last week that we should maybe spend a little bit more time reviewing the code. For the sake of being extra cringe, I am going to ignore that advice. Yeah, we could see max characters. All right, so it's assuming ASCII going through. All right. Could be some bugs in there. And then we've got instructions here. Let's see, create new file. Let's say yes. Okay, so it looked like it added a file and it created a git commit. So if I open up here, 114, I can see there's a histogram file. Okay, that's interesting. That's what we just saw. It's also got some like chat log stuff, which I guess is used for context here. Run shell commands. So this is going to run GCC to compile. Yes, let's do that. And then it executes histogram. So I guess I can type stuff now. Add command output to the chat. Yeah. Cat sum file. I don't think that's going to work because we don't actually have a sum file.txt that I see up here. Yeah, that didn't work great. Don't add that. Okay. So what did we get? It looks like we got a program and it wasn't able to actually show that it worked. So let's exit out of here. If we run histogram, yeah, there we go. Okay, so I was just been really done with my my terminal characters here, and I think I've got some stupid process in the background. But we can see here that I typed in A, B, C, D, and we have one A, B, C, D. We also have a 0A, which absolutely can't recall what that is. Is that some command character or control character? If you know, leave it in the comments. Okay, so let's move on. Let's go to 15. Okay, write a program to print all input lines that are longer than 80 characters. Okay, so let's go back. All right, relaunching Aider. Same deal, got to create the Git repo. Yes. Okay, and I'm going to do voice again. Write a program to print all input lines from standard input that are longer than 80 characters. Write the lines to standard output. Okay, that looks good. All right. And this vaguely looks like C code. I can see the threshold 80, max line length. Okay. And all right. Yeah, let's create the file. This time we have all warnings. I don't think we saw that on the previous command. Let's run the command. All right, now we have an executable, cat some file. Okay, so that's going to fail again, but let's go ahead and manually add this. Okay, so we are filtering based on the length of lines. So let's do a long line, okay, a short line, a long line. Let's do one line without a new line after it. Save. Okay, some file.txt. So now back over to our Aider. Run the command cat some file.txt. Yes, let's do it. Hopefully it'll work this time. Okay, we can see A, we can see C. We didn't see the last line, which I guess it wasn't long enough anyway. So that wasn't a great test. Let's go ahead and make it also long without a new line, just to test the error or the edge case here. Add command output to the chat. Yeah, sure. Okay. Cat some file. Long lines. Okay. So yeah, this looks reasonable good. Good enough to move on. All right. So exercise 1-8. Write a program to remove trailing blinks and tabs from each line of input and delete entirely blank lines. Okay. Notice we've skipped forward a couple. Basically, if there are refactor exercises that I don't think demo well, I just skip them. So let's go ahead and make dir 118 Aider. Yes. Voice. Write a program to remove blinks and tabs from each line of input from standard input and delete all blank lines entirely. Okay. All right. Create a new file. I'm feeling optimistic. Run shell commands. Yes. All right, so we should be in the program. All right, so remove trailing blanks and tabs. That might be kind of tough to see. Okay. ABC. Yeah, there's like no way to really know if that's happening visually. Delete entirely blank lines. We can test that. So if I do entirely blank, I don't see a duplicate. Okay, let's try to make this a little bit more obvious. So I think let's ask Aider to modify the program to add something like a an ampersand at the end of each line, just to have some sort of visualization. Append an ampersand to the end of each line printed to standard output in order to better visually differentiate the blanks and tabs that are removed. Okay, I feel like that's not going to work, but let's see. Okay, ABC. Up, it did it. Okay, ABC. Nice. Okay, that is working right. And then still blank lines are deleted entirely. Okay, so that looks like 118 is done. All right, let's go to 119 and then end it there because this is going a little bit long. Okay. All right. Make dir 119, cd 119, Aider, create a repo, voice mode. Before I start that, let's take a look. All right, write a function reverse that reverses the character string S. Use it to write a program that reverses its input a line at a time. So I guess in this case, let's try to be a little bit more ambitious and see if we can create multiple files. Let's specify that this should be in a like a header-only library, and that we should also generate a main.c that uses that library to reverse hello world and then print that to the console. I guess since we get different commits, let's try to do that in two steps. So two commands. We'll do the standalone library first, and then we'll do the main that runs it. Generate a header-only library, utils.h, that has an extern free function named reverse that takes a C-style string named S and reverses the character string in place. Okay, let's take a look. All right, header guards. I wonder what this utils implementation is supposed to mean here. Strange. All right, yeah, let's go ahead and generate that. up, and it will actually go ahead and create the example code as well. Sure, run that. Okay, that did not go too well. Bash syntax error near unexpected token. Looks like the multi-line string wasn't properly terminated or something like that. Okay. Add command output to the chat. I wonder if it's going to be able to fix itself. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. All right, so our current state of things is that we have kind of a strange function that has this if-def utils implementation. And okay. Let's see if we can try this again to generate driver code. Generate a file main.c that includes utils.h, defines the requisite implementation macro, and then uses the reverse utility function to reverse the string hello world in place. Print the string before and after the transformation to standard out. Okay. All right. So we are defining that weird macro. We're including the header. All right, we have our string before, reverse, after, and then end. So that looks like it should work. Create new file. Yes. Okay. Compile and then run it. Yes. Null undeclared. First use in this function. Okay, so it looks like there is a missing standard header in utils.h. All right, so let's try to fix that. Add the standard header to utils.h that defines the null macro. Let's see if it knows which header that is. Okay, yep. There we go. Run the shell command. Yes. Okay. Nice, that worked. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and close out. So on the whole, Aider is pretty cool. It's interesting to be able to not have to touch the keyboard very much and be able to do so much by voice. We definitely saw that some of the interactions around the terminal got messed up, in particular trying to echo C source code. There was like a missing single character or something like that. I think it's interesting that Aider also is integrated into kind of a Git workflow. So if I do like a Git log, we actually can see pretty good commits here. So yeah, that's honestly pretty nice. That feels more like pair programming, right? If I'm like a navigator and I have someone that I'm pairing with, Drive, usually they will basically create a commit at the end. And so we could go back in and do like a edit of that particular commit if we had to. And yeah, so that's nice. So thank you so much to the viewer for requesting that we take a look at Aider voice mode. Hopefully this was interesting to you all, and see you all next week. Thank you. Bye.